Hi everyone, welcome to UTV Gooner and our show The Shooting Lone Star with Ram from the Austin Gooners. Hey bro, how are you?
Hey man, I'm doing good. Big weekend ahead. We got the Arsenal match, 9 a.m. our time on Saturday, and then me and a few of the boys from the Austin Gooners are gonna trade our red for some green and travel 2-3 hours north in Texas to an Austin FC match against our in-state rival FC Dallas. Um, and yeah, we're traveling in a big with a few like travel buses and all that kind of stuff. So we're trying to secure the Copa Tejas, which is it's not like an official league trophy, but it's more like it's just I don't know how to explain it like, in terms of like it's just an honor you can win. It's not like a serious, real official trophy, but we win this match on Saturday, it'll be something that we can claim as a group. So it's gonna be a fun Saturday for sure, man. I'm really looking forward to it.
Nice bro. I wish
Yeah,
Austin to see the best of luck there. Hopefully.
yeah, for sure. I'll send you a video from when we're there, man. It's gonna be fun.
Nice bro. I look forward to seeing it. So
Mm.
let's talk about our game against Crystal Palace to start with then. So
Yeah,
finished 1-0 to us, though we had a man sent off, which made it difficult. I thought that red card was ridiculous. Really, what kind of refereeing that was. It was unbelievable how he first of the first one for time wasting. Tommy Yasu was just trying to find someone to throw it to. They timed it at 8 seconds and he got a yellow card. That's really not fair. And then the second one, he barely touched the guy. And I don't understand how VAR cannot get involved in when it's a second yellow and say, look, have a look at that again. It's a bit too harsh. I really just don't understand why the refereeing standards really need to improve. But as difficult as that made it for us, we showed great spirit, great defensive qualities to keep them out. You know, it was backs against the wall for a period of time where they had a lot of the ball and we were just so solid. At one point, I think at the point towards the end of the game, we had what, seven defenders on? Or
yeah,
yeah, I think about seven defenders were on. So yeah, but we got the job done, got our win, important 3 points, first away game of the season. Great confidence from that. Your thoughts on the game?
yeah, man. It was a lot, and it was crazy because I didn't get the day off. I mean, for you guys, it was like at 8 p.m. when the game started. Uh, Here in America, in Texas, it was a 2 p.m. start on a Monday. So um, I didn't get the day off, so I was kind of just watching while I was working. I might as well have just gotten that time off because it was such a tense match. And I agree with you, man. Like the two yellow cards on Takahiro Tomiyasu, man, absolutely ridiculous. That first one, the time wasting one, I think I told you on WhatsApp, like they did a breakdown a little bit on the TV coverage here, and they timed it, and it was 23 seconds total. But Tomiyasu had the ball the least amount of time. Kai Havertz had it for most of the time, and before he had it, Declan Rice had it. So they were kind of passing it around to each other, and he was just the last person to get in trouble. And so he gets the yellow card. Second yellow card was absolutely ridiculous. Um, yeah, they VAR freaking red cards. I don't understand why they wouldn't do a second yellow. I mean, the result is the same, right? I mean, if you can rescind it. Anyway, like ridiculous, but I thought our team responded really, really well to the red card. We almost forgot for a long time um what it felt like to play with 10 men because there was at some point where it was almost like, oh, here we go again with the fact that we just get so many reds and things like that and playing with 10 men a lot. But so this felt new, but I think I still even though I was a little bit nervous at those last 20, 30 minutes or however long we played with 10 men, I thought our guys really, really stepped up to the plate. You know what I'm saying? And um, yeah, man, it was how do I want to put it? Like like it was a 1-0 win, but it should have been 3-0 maybe. Like, I mean, we had a lot of chances. We had a lot of the ball. We had most of the momentum, and Crystal Palace really came into the game when we had 10 players. So like, but even then, even though they did dominate the possession and they did get a ton of shots on goal, I thought our defense played spectacular in terms of just not letting any real chances happen. I thought Ramsdale played well. I thought I thought someone like Thomas Partey, almost playing out of position, played really, really well. Um, and kudos to, Odegaard taking that penalty shot really good. I know we were talking earlier off camera about how Eddie Nketiah is kind of like, for some reason, we think that Eddie Nketiah, like, I don't know, it's just, it does baffle a lot of fans around here, like thinking like, oh, what is Eddie Nketiah like? How does he just keep his place on the team or what have you? And I just think, you know, he's somewhat of an enigma, man. Like he had two chances that he should have scored on. But I think overall he had a really solid game in terms of like work rate. He did win us the penalty. So I thought overall, like, he had a good game. I think he earns his spot in the next match to to keep his spot anyway. Um, but yeah, man, and then there's also good news that Gabriel Jesus is back on training. So like, I think we're gonna start seeing a full squad soon. I know Tomiyasu is gonna be out for the game, but we have Zinchenko back, and I think ultimately, at the end of the day, we got 3 points, and that's all that matters. There was a few ugly games last year that we dropped points in, especially late in the season. And one of the games I'm even thinking about is like our game away at Everton. But to pull away with 3 points is actually like a very important win. I think ultimately, like, if you want to win the Premier League, you're gonna have to win a lot of ugly games. And I felt like towards the end of the season, we lost. We didn't necessarily lose a bunch of ugly games, but we dropped points, right? You can think of the West Ham, Liverpool, Southampton. The main one I'm thinking in terms of losing points was like Everton away, right? Grimy game, back and forth, very ugly. They squeak out a goal, they win 1-0, and we're just like, what the fuck just happened? Um, this is one of those games, and it was just, it's really hard to go into Selhurst Park and win. Um, and we went in and did it. We did the deed, man. And um, I don't know if you saw, there's a clip going around too of like 2 minutes of just us passing the ball around, just dominating possession. Because for the most part, when we went down to 10 men, they dominated a lot of possession, right? I think at some point, even the commentator pointed out, uh, it was like 80-20, right? The split. But then there was a point, I think, even when Jorginho went in, excuse me, where we just started passing the ball around, and this wonderful clip that went around like 2 years ago, 3 years ago. I wouldn't have appreciated it, but like, man, when you see it, man, it's just crazy. We're just going back and forth, holding the ball, and it was just so beautiful to see. Um, and sometimes that's what's needed, right? It's kind of like in American football where you have a lead and you're just wasting the clock. You're not time wasting, but you're just holding possession of the ball. And we were able to do that. And then even at the end of the match, Arteta's comments like it was an ugly win, but all that matters is that we win. And I mean, that's it. Ultimately, we need 3 points, and we haven't been playing our best ball so far, but we've got 6 points, and we're up there. So that's all you can ask for. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, for sure. It's important to be able to grind out the wins. And in them circumstances, we're down to 10 men. It's really difficult. As you said, Selhurst Park is a hard place to go play. And then being down to 10 men, they got the crowd right behind them. We had to fight really hard. And that's the thing we've seen with our team. We've seen a great fighting spirit from this team through most of last season. And we saw it again now at the start of this season. And it's important. You need that side of the game as well. Can't always be playing at your best. And sometimes circumstances go against you, like in that game where the referee could have cost us with that decision. But we managed to see it through, got a very important win. Declan Rice, he really bossed the midfield. He had a really good interview afterwards with Sky Sports here. one of the TV broadcasters that are showing the game here, and it was quite a long, in-depth interview. And it was great hearing him. He seems a really confident guy. You can see the leadership in him. I just love one of the comments he had. He said before the game, he was thinking, "Let's have it." That was his mentality going into the game. He was just like, "Yeah, let's have it." Yeah, I love that. And he seems like he's settling in really well.
Yeah, man, and he also did it NBC, which broadcasts the games here in America. He also had an incredible interview too, and he was basically I was echoing a lot of the things he said, and he was like, "If you want to win the league, you have to go into these games and win ugly, and yeah, these are the kinds of games you want to win." And yeah, he just oozes confidence, and he's you can already tell he's Arsenal through and through. He's in with the team. He got man of the match, and I thought he deserved it, man. And a lot of times, I even looked at his stats. In his like 10 plus, I don't even know if it's 10 plus years, but his entire career with West Ham, he's got 10 goals total. Like I don't know how many assists, but that's not he's not going to assist. He's not going to impact you on the assist and goals, but he's going to impact your team in terms of like just like what we saw in the last 30 minutes, right? We're down to 10 men. He was he definitely stepped up, I thought, like toward that end of the match where we needed somebody to just like take control of the ball and take control of this team and and yeah, man, a lot of good performances, but I thought Declan Rice was it was sort of like his not his coming out game, but his game where he just like sort of announced himself to kind of like, hey man, like I'm here. And it was really great to see, man. He did a lot of the boring things really well, and that's what's most exciting. Because I mean, you love to see the good goals, the beautiful passes, this, that, and the other, and not to discount that. Like that's part of why we love the game. But a lot of the times, like the really intricate things that people do, and you're just like, wow, that was really smart, and you're just like, it adds up. And over a course of 90 minutes, you're like, man, this guy is quality, man. And Declan Rice is that guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure, bro. He's just getting started with us as well. So as he gets used to our way of playing and Arteta works with him along with our coaching staff, we're going to see a great, great player. Already a great player, but I'm sure he's going to get better and better. And he mentioned he wants to add goals to his game. That's for part of the game he's working on as well. So let's hope he can start getting goals as well and add that part to his game. Another player I wanted to say as a stand-up performer, he didn't have much to do, even though Crystal Palace had a lot of a ball in that second half. They didn't really create much clear cut. But for Ramsdale, it was the first game where our new goalkeeper, Raya, was in the squad. We know that he's a very good goalkeeper, so the pressure's on Ramsdale to perform at his best. But he done everything really well. Where the crosses he had to come collect, got them, good with his feet. Great all-round performance from him again as well.
Yeah, I agree, man. He had, I think he might have had. I mean, yeah, he definitely had a couple of good saves. Maybe a couple of moments where I was just like, oh no, like, but that's with every goalkeeper. Again, Crystal Palace were. I mean, they're an outstanding team, man. I mean, they always end up. It always seems like they finish 10th, 12th, or whatever, and so like their place on the table is never like doesn't tell the whole story of like how difficult that team is to play against, and they really I think brought it to us. I mean, they had the same amount of shots we did. Certainly on target the same amount we did, probably a little bit more at some point during the game. So I thought he did well. He led our defense. And a clean sheet away, 1-0. I mean, he did everything he was asked to do, and I think we're only going to see better performances coming out of the goalkeeper position, which is exciting to say because, I mean, he's already earned his spot as one of the more dangerous goalkeepers in the league. And I think he's only going to get better with the addition of Raya. And I'm also excited to see what Raya can do whenever he gets his chance. So, I mean, um, yeah, it's incredible. It was incredible to see him. You could just tell, like, just a little bit more of an edge that he had in one game with Raya on the squad. Um, I thought he did fantastic.
Yeah, for sure, bro. So before we talk about the other fixtures from the weekend and look ahead to what's coming up, just wanting to get your thoughts on some transfer news. So nothing solid in terms of coming ins or going outs, but we were speaking before the show started that there's been strong rumours linking Balogun with Monaco.
Mhm. Yeah, so I think there seems to be like a verbal agreement between the teams. Um, Not too much to say on that. Um, I like Balogun, and when he decided to switch to USA to become their main striker, I wanted him even more to stay with Arsenal. Arsenal academy guy. Now he's going to be a USA guy. Like it would be so cool to have basically the USA's top guy playing for Arsenal. Um, but I just think, if we were to believe like the reports that came out that said that he wanted to be guaranteed first team minutes, um, I think that's on one hand, that's a great thing. You want that from your striker, right? You want your striker to be confident. But on the other hand, the way that this team is operating, the way Arteta is sort of treating every first place position is you have to earn it through everything you do at the facility, excuse me, on the practice pitch, all that stuff, right? And for me, if he wasn't able to take minutes away from Gabi Jesus or Eddie Nketiah, then what that tells me is maybe he just wasn't maybe he just wasn't performing to the what Arteta wanted, And you got to show it in practice as well. Um, and also, he's also been injured for some time as well, so we can't really hold that against him, if you will. But I think the combination of him being injured and not being able to perform um, during preseason and in these first two games, at least to get on the bench, I think all those factors factored into a situation where Arteta probably told him like, "Hey, I know you wanted to demand first team minutes, but it's just not going to happen anytime soon, given that he's still injured, and probably is barely getting back to game fitness and what have you." Um, and also, I think at the amount of money that we spent, we're going to have to make sales, and he might have been, to use a phrase, like the lowest the lowest hanging fruit, right? Like the easiest one that we could sell. So it's a little bit unfortunate because I would have liked to see him for all the reasons I said before, but I think it's going to be a good move for everybody involved, and I'm excited to see what he's going to do in Monaco if it all goes through.
Yeah, hopefully we put a buyback clause in there. So if he
Yeah.
does really well, and we got the chance to get him back, because he could go on to be a really, really good striker. We don't know. We've seen good things from him in his loan spell last season, but there's a long way for him to go in his career. So yeah, wish him, if he is to leave, wish him the best of luck. But yeah, nothing's confirmed yet. But it does seem like he is going to be leaving. And there are some other players we're still trying to get out. The likes of Pepe, he's one.
Hmm.
Still, we haven't managed to sell him. Time is ticking now. There's not that long left till the transfer window closes. I think we're going to see a lot of movement on the last couple of days. It's going to be interesting that last couple of days, see what happens and see if we get anyone in.
Yeah, I know there's been some talk of like maybe bringing in that guy Mohammed Kudus from Ghana who plays for Ajax. Um, I know there's been some talk of him joining like Chelsea or another squad. I have no idea, but that seems to, or no, West Ham. So that's kind of still like in the works. I think Ajax is maybe waiting for other teams to start bidding. They kind of want a bidding war. So maybe we'll see. I think there still is a need for right winger, like somebody to cover for Saka. And then also you're thinking about, well, you know, we didn't discuss it, but I'll bring it up. But like, there seems to be some talk about Kieran Tierney going out to like La Liga, uh, excuse me, Real Sociedad on loan for a year. I don't know, like again, I don't even know details, and I don't want to like go off on what it is. But if he's gonna exit, you have to think and especially with Yuri and Timber out for essentially the whole year, you have to think that Arsenal's maybe considering looking into some defender of some sorts in some position to kind of cover for, because we didn't get Timber just because, like, we got him because there was a need, and now that he's out, there's still a need, and if you know Kieran Tierney goes out, there's even more of a need, I think, to have the numbers to kind of go and compete the way we want to compete. So we'll see. I'm thinking, maybe one person comes in, and if we're just really going all out too. But I think if we can get one more player, whether it's the Kudus kid who can play right wing or a defender, I think we'll be okay. If we get two people, great. If we get none, I might be a little bit worried, but ultimately I'm gonna trust that the brass knows exactly what they're doing. But we'll see, man. We got a whole week to go, so it's gonna be exciting.
Yeah, for sure, bro. So now let's discuss some of last week's games. We saw
Yeah.
some interesting results. Let's start with Tottenham beating Man United 2-0.
Yeah, I watched that game. That was hilarious. The second goal, let me just skip ahead. That second goal was watching it was like, oh, that's pure Tottenham when the strike, I don't know who it was that missed. I don't know if you noticed it, but he whiffed on the kick and allowed the ball to go. And then the butcher, they call him, Lissandro Martinez, whiffed on the clearance. So the Tottenham guy, the United guy, both whiffed, and boom, second goal goes in. Um, I thought the first half was like evenly matched. It was exciting. You're like, okay, like two good teams going back and forth. Um, I thought United probably had the slight edge. Like they had more shots, they had more possession. But it was back and forth. And then my theme, I think, that I've been talking about for the past year and a half is Tottenham just being lucky. And I felt like they got lucky ultimately. Like some United fans will probably argue, like, hey, man, that was pretty good defense by Lissandro on the second goal. If he clears the ball, if he clears it, fine. Props, man. He was in the right position, but he doesn't. So it's an own goal. You lose 2-0 to Tottenham. Like, come on, bro. Um, like, but I
Tottenham,
thought at this,
Harry Kane,
yeah, yeah,
Tottenham.
without Harry Kane, exactly. And I thought on the flip side, Tottenham just got barraged with shots early on. 22 total shots that they gave up. That's not necessarily a winning formula in the Premier League over the long term. Like, sure, you'd be able to win some games, but I'm old enough to remember when we under Unai Emery giving up like 30 shots to Watford and losing like 1-0. Stupid game or some shit like that. Um, so yeah, we'll see, man. Early in the season, it was sort of a comedy of errors that match. Um, and 2-0 was like that was a little bit satisfying. Even though it was Tottenham, it was still cool to see like United lose 2-0, especially after all the shit they always keep talking.
Yeah, we've heard a lot from their fans saying they're going to do really well this season. We think they could have a title challenge. I remember they made Tottenham look good in that second half.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Tottenham, I give credit to Tottenham. It's difficult to do, but I give credit to them. They did play well in that second half, but yeah, Man United were really poor. Talking of another team that big things are expected, not maybe so early in the season because they got get some time to gel with their players, the new manager there, but they've got off to a really bad start. It's great to see 1 point out of 6 now. Chelsea, after their one
Yes.
draw in the first game against Liverpool, they lost 3-1 to West Ham, and West Ham really did deserve to win that game. I know Chelsea missed a penalty, but still, I thought West Ham were the better team.
Um. Yes, that was incredible. It's funny that yeah, I actually rewatched that. Well, I didn't rewatch it. I missed it on the day of, so I watched it for the first time yesterday because so it's fresh in my mind. Got to give a little bit of credit to Chelsea. There's a player on there who actually went off injured. Um, I don't want to miss Chukwemeka, English lad, 19 years old. I thought he played really well. Kind of exciting, number 19, the winger kind of player, and Jackson, their main striker. Two guys that are kind of like caught my eyes. You know what I mean? Um, But other than that, I thought they just looked really poor, not very dangerous. And Fernandez missed a penalty, and he's $100 million. And then on the flip side, $110 million or pounds. We'll go back, right? 100, 200 million pounds, and he miss a penalty, and then draw the penalty to lose 3-1. Like the script writers couldn't do it any better. Like it was beautiful to watch that shit. And obviously, I don't know. We'll see in the long run what's going to happen. But another good stat to point out and to think about: Arsenal are no longer the youngest team in the Premier League. It is now Chelsea Football Club. So, what are they going to do with a bunch of young players, expensive players with a ton of pressure? I mean, we know what it's like to. I mean, we'll see what happens. Pochettino, I mean, he's got a better track record than the bunch of the coaches they have. But right now they're a mess. 1 point out of 6 when they're supposed to um, I guess maybe improve. But right now they're 15th. Obviously very early on, but you love to see it. You know what I mean? I loved it. It was an incredible match.
Yeah, it's great to see them losing there. So next game I want to talk to you about is the Liverpool versus Bournemouth game. It was a
Yeah.
comfortable win for Liverpool in the end, but they also had a man sent off unfairly. Again, it was VAR. I don't know what is going on there. As I was saying to you earlier with our situation, we've seen VAR make so many errors, and then we hear the day after that. I think it was on Monday, so a couple of days later, the red card was rescinded. Should never have been a red card. Another really poor decision.
Yeah. There was a ton of red cards given over the weekend. I know there was, I don't know if there was a stat going on, but when they gave Tomiyasu his red card, like, I think the commentator was like, and that's the fifth or sixth red card this weekend.
Six,
They're just
yeah.
like, yeah,
Six.
like, good God, that's a lot. And I feel like anytime there's rule changes, the referees over emphasize the rules and give everybody these cards, and then over time they kind of chill out a little bit, which is bad in itself. Like it should be consistent overall, but at the same time, like you gotta, like, come on, get it together, guys. Like this is supposed to be. I mean, I believe this is the best league in the world, right, in terms of football, but like the refereeing is not up to that standard, and it's so disappointing that like you look ahead to the game that you're playing and you're like, okay, who's the referee? Like I think that's ridiculous that we know the referees' names. It shouldn't be that way. They should be almost unheard of, right? But that's the way it is. And ridiculous red card. That game I watched in the moment, and I thought they started off poorly, but they did bounce back pretty well. Um, that's probably one of the teams that I'm a little bit worried about a little bit more than others. Liverpool. I just think I mean, I think they are going to struggle now that they didn't really pick up anybody to beef up their midfield, but they still got incredible attackers, but um, their defense is a little suspect because of they do that that midfield piece. So we'll see what happens with them. But I mean, they look good overall, but it was against Bournemouth, and Bournemouth, outside of that first goal, they really didn't like look dangerous at any point.
Okay, so final game from last week I'll ask you about is a Man City versus Newcastle game. It was only 1-0 in the end to Man City, but I thought they were really dominant. The way they controlled that game, beautiful passing, slick performance, especially from Phil Foden. I think that is his best position. I don't
Mm.
think it's suited for him to be out on the wing. We saw him playing in that more centre role, the De Bruyne position, the way he was linking up play, that the passing, I say, beautiful performance from him and them as a team. I thought they were really good. And we know how strong a team Newcastle are. We saw how good they played in the opening weekend, winning their first game against Aston Villa. But the way Man City managed to shut them down, control them, got the win. Again, Man City are looking frighteningly good.
Yeah, and that's another game I watched in the moment too, and I thought they looked better in the 1-0 win than they did winning 3-0 against Burnley. I thought Burnley didn't put up much of a fight, so there's not really anything you can judge off of that game. But like Yeah, they, as you said, man, they looked dominant. They dominated possession. The goal they scored wasn't like a worldly. It was just one of those typical Manchester City goals, kind of like the goals we try and score, right? Where you just pass you to death, put you to sleep, and before you know it, you give up a stupid goal, and you're just like, well, how do we even do this? Like, come on, man. And it was so frustrating to see, like, if like, because I was rooting, at least for the day, on the day I was rooting for Newcastle to kind of at least put the pressure on them a little bit, but ultimately they couldn't. Um, and then Newcastle looked a little bit ordinary. And again, I'm going to stick to it. I think even though they did have that big win against Villa, um, playing against a team like City, you saw, at least I felt, I saw exactly what I predicted, at least early on. Again, these are very early, but I just don't think they're going to be able to keep up with all the big teams that are competing for titles and all these fronts. Like, they just look very average. Um, I'm pretty sure they're going to bounce back, but they have to, right? They're playing against another big game in Liverpool, so yeah, we'll see, man. It was a very exciting first 2 weeks in the Premier League for sure, man.
Yeah, so yeah, just 2 games in very early, but it's us and City up there with Brentford. Long, long way to go, but we've got to keep on getting the wins because City, as I say, they look so good. I know they're missing De Bruyne. They made a couple of sales in the summer, but as a team, they just seem like such a well-oiled, slick machine that they're just able to win games after games, as we saw last season. So we've really got to be at our best, get ahead of them, and yeah, hopefully this time we can see it out at the end of the season. So that brings us on to our next game now, then. So it's Fulham at home. Fulham have lost their striker Mitrovic, who has caused us many problems in recent seasons. So it's good he's not going to be there. But again, it is a London derby. They are a decent team. They did give us a good game here last season, but as I say, they had him in the team then, so that was hard for us. It's hard for any defenders to deal with him because he's a really good player. But they won't have him now. Also, there you were mentioning to me before we started filming that their captain got a red card last weekend, so he's going to be missing. Hopefully, it's going to be a nice, easy home win for us. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, man, I'm really glad that Mitrovic is out of there. I mean, he's, yeah, as you said, very difficult guy to game plan against. Big guy, like he's a bulky striker, is not super fast, but just strong and powerful. The goal he got against us last year, you know, I hate to say it, but it was like, it was good, right? Like, I mean, he took the ball away from Gabriel, scored it on his own. Like, he did everything on his own. Kudos to him. So I'm glad he's gone. Another one. They're going to be without Tim Ream, who's their captain. So, the emotional leader of that team is going to be out. Um, they do have Bernd Leno still in goal, former Arsenal guy who was difficult to score against, at least in the first match against us. So I think it'll be. I predicted the last week was going to be ultimately easy against Crystal Palace, and then it turned out to be difficult. I'm going to say this one will be easy as well. I think Fulham. This is going to be their second game without Mitrovic, and the previous game, lost 3-0 to Brentford. Who, to give them credit, they're up there, but they're going to play against us, and I think we're a little bit more dangerous than them. Um, or at least we have the similar characteristics in terms of how we like to play, and just I think we're gonna be okay. I think we do 3-0 on them. I'm gonna say right now.
Okay, yeah, let's hope it's going to be a nice, easy home win. I'm going to go for 4-0.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
think we're due to get a few goals in. I think against Forest, we could have had a couple more, but then, the second half got a little bit tight, as we know, ended up finishing close as a 2-1. And then the Crystal Palace one again, it was a case where we went 1-0 up. If we didn't get it down to 10 men, most likely would have gone on and got second, possibly third goal as well. Hopefully, it's a good thrashing. Just wanted to ask you about the team lineup now. So, with Tomiyasu out, hopefully Zinchenko's fitness is good now. He's had some more time training this week, so straight swap for him to come into that position. And in terms of as well, with Thomas Partey's been playing right back, we weren't sure if he'll do that in an away game. thought it might be just a tactic he uses at home against a team like Nottingham Forest, but Arteta did use that same tactic as Thomas Partey as a right back. So your thoughts? You think he'll be sticking with that, and just for any change will be Zinchenko in for Tomiyasu?
I think you know what I think with and again, this is all speculation, right? I don't know exactly what's going on. I think part of the reason we were going with this formation the first 2 weeks um, was to sort of make us a little bit unpredictable. I'm really sticking to that quote that Arteta made during preseason, where we have to be unpredictable. We have to keep the opponents guessing. You saw toward the end of the year how ultimately we were good for long stretches of the year, but when injuries happened and we became predictable and we couldn't really change up the formation, they figured us out a little bit. So I think these first 2 weeks were an attempt to kind of instill a different type of play in there. Um, but I think with Zinchenko back, I think we go back to our back four. Um, I think we do go back to that back four a little bit, um, and have Thomas Partey and um, Declan Rice in the central midfield area with Odegaard, and then we might see someone like Kai Havertz come off the bench. I'm not saying Kai Havertz hasn't played very well these past couple weeks. He looks like a guy who is on a new team, is learning his teammates, learning a new system. I thought he put in a really he did as I mentioned with Declan Rice, he did a lot of like the boring stuff really well. Um, Obviously, I think Declan Rice was a little bit more standoutish. Kai Havertz, I think if there's anybody who would be benched ultimately, I think he would be, but I don't think he's benched per se. It's more like rotation. I think we play a lot better with Zinchenko in that back four where he inverts and does his little thing, kind of like what we did last year. Um, and I think that's what we're gonna do. That's what I'm hoping we do a little bit because I do want to kind of see our attack get a little bit unleashed a little bit. Although to be fair, we did dominate possession these past 2 games, dominate the shots. So we'll see what happens, man. But I think with Zinchenko in, we go back to the back four.
Yeah, you make a good point there, is because Zinchenko likes to play that inverted role. So if
Mm.
Thomas Partey's playing right back, we'd have both of them playing that.
Exactly. Yeah.
So we'd have both of them in midfield, and then just two back. So I
Yeah.
don't know, that would be really extremely attacking. So we're interested to see. He might go for that. It's a home game. Fulham expecting to sit back. Don't really see him going all out attack against us. So he might do that, and that would be really interesting to see where we got both fullbacks in midfield for most of
Yeah.
the we got the ball attacking, But yeah, let's see what happens. Okay, bro. And to finish with, as usual, let's talk about some of the other key fixtures coming up this weekend, involving some of our rivals and some of other big games. So I'm not going to say they're a rival because they're 5 points behind us already. And I really don't see them being much of a threat to us this season. I see them struggling to get the top four. This is Chelsea I'm talking about. Being winding up my friends that are Chelsea fans. So you're
Mm.
already 5 points behind us. That gap's just going to grow and grow. But yeah, they have got, you would say on paper, a very winnable game against Luton at home. Luton didn't play last week because of their stadium situation. So they've only had the one game so far, which they lost, but they are expected to struggle this season. Chelsea are at home, so it should be a comfortable home win. But if it's not, I'm really going to enjoy seeing my Chelsea friends again after that game. Thoughts on that one?
Yeah. I mean, the chatter I heard from Chelsea fans was, "Oh, like look at our like after drawing 1-1 to Liverpool, they were like, oh, that's a great because look at our schedule coming up, like very winnable games, yada yada yada." What do? They lose 3-1 to West Ham. So, um, yeah, who knows, right? But Luton, I don't even know very much about them other than like some of the games that I saw toward the end of last season in the championship where they came up to the Premier League. Great story. We've heard all about like their tiny little stadium, which I think is like kind of cool or whatever, but they're not playing there. They are playing at Stamford Bridge. Um, don't really know what to expect from Chelsea, right? I mean, they're again very young team. Do they go into this match overconfident, or do they bounce back from a embarrassing loss, um, kind of destroy this team? Again, this team, Luton. I'm gonna watch with curious eyes because again, I didn't catch their first one against Brighton. They got destroyed. They didn't play last week, so a little bit of a weird situation there. But I want to say that Luton steals a draw out of this, but I think Chelsea end up winning like 3-1. I think it's a game similar to like what they just went through against West Ham, where it's close, and then at the end there's a collapse, and I think it's Luton Town that collapses. They just don't seem like a strong team to me. We'll see. Again, I haven't seen them a lot, so we'll just say 3-1 Chelsea, but I'm not very confident in that pick at all, to be fair.
Okay, I'm gonna go 2-0 Chelsea. I think they all get the win. I think even though they're not looking great, I think Luton are a really poor team that are going to struggle this season.
Yeah.
Like you haven't seen much of them, but just from looking at their lineup, and it's hard, it's their first time in the Premier League as well. It's not going to be easy for them, and I can see them losing that one.
To be fair, Stamford Bridge, I mean, I've seen enough games on TV that it's a pretty crazy place to play. So can they hold up, right? See what happens.
Yeah. Okay. So next, let's talk about Man United against Nottingham Forest. So Man United coming off a loss, they're going to be really determined to try and get the win. Nottingham Forest, I think they're a decent team. They've done well, stayed up last season. They've looked all right in their couple of games this season, and I think they can give them a tough battle there at Old Trafford. The pressure's on Man United. They need to get the win there. Oh, there's going to be 2 losses in a row. I know it's early in the season, but you can't be dropping this many points this early in the season if you want to be up there with the likes of us and Man City. So pressure's on them. Your thoughts on that one?
I think they looked good. I did watch them because they have Arsenal legend and USA legend Matt Turner at goal now. I like to watch Nottingham Forest just to watch him, just to kind of see how he does and gets along in the Premier League. So I'm excited for him. Um, and he did really well, to be fair, against Sheffield United. They won 2-1. They scored early, gave up an equalizer, and then scored late. So yeah, this Nottingham Forest team is going to be a difficult draw, man. And we saw it like even though we scored early 2-1 or two and went up 2-0, we did give up a goal, a really good goal late, and they did kind of scare us a little bit. Although also at the same time, I thought that we dominated that match for a long period of time. But they're one of those teams that are going to play until the very end. On the flip side, Manchester United have looked very, very mediocre. I thought against Wolves, and probably a little bit worse against Tottenham. And they, we'll see what happens, man. I think they're lucky to be where they're at with 3 points total. So I think this is going to be a draw. I think this is going to be a goalkeeper fest where everybody just kind of, I mean, the goalkeepers just kind of do their thing. Right now, I think Onana is playing decent enough, um, and I'm still rooting for my boy Matt Turner. So I think it's going to end up being something like 1-1. I think both teams will manage a goal, but I think I see a draw.
Okay, I'm going for an upset win there.
Okay, hey,
Oh,
I'll take that
Forest.
too.
I'm going 2-1 Nottingham Forest.
Oh yeah, nice.
Come on, Forest.
Yeah.
Maybe our prediction come true. I think, yeah, just as I say, I think they look good. Like we saw firsthand ourselves, they're a decent team, and Man United have not looked good. I think they're still there's some pieces missing there still. I don't think they're quite where they want to be. I know they're missing their new striker. Not sure when he's back, but I don't think he's back for this one. But even when he comes back, it's going to take him some time to gel. And I think, yeah, this is potentially going to be an upset. So yeah, 2-1 Nottingham Forest for me in that one. Next one, let's talk about Sheffield United against Man City.
Oh man, fuck City. I hate them. God, I hope they drop points somewhere. Sheffield United's another team, right? That's what coming up from the championship, newly promoted side. They got a lot of injuries going on. I don't know anything about them, to be honest. Well, other than what I did see them against Nottingham Forest, but I thought it was just one of those games like it was close, it was tight, it was exciting, but I don't think a team like Sheffield United is going to put up the same fight against City like they did against Nottingham Forest. So I think City wins this comfortably. I will say like 2-0. I think they'll play better. They'll play good, decent because they're at home um, in Bramall Lane. But I think City win. I'll say 2-0.
Okay, yeah, I think a comfortable win for City as well. I'm going to go 3-0 for Man City. Okay, man, to finish with, so another big game. We've seen many big games already so early in the season. We saw in the first couple of weekends, another one this weekend. Two teams that are expected to be right up there towards the top of the table playing each other. It's Newcastle against Liverpool.
Yeah, Newcastle have really been put to the test early on, haven't they? Um, Instead of being sort of like this Cinderella team that is, you know, creeping up on people, kind of like us last year a little bit. They're now in the crosshairs, if you will. And yeah, this is going to be an incredible match to watch. I think Newcastle might end up upsetting Liverpool. Like I said before, I think Liverpool. I think what's really going to hurt them in the long run is them not having very strong midfielders. So it's almost like you're watching them having like six attackers and a very, very weak defense. Whereas on the flip side, you think at Newcastle, I think they're a solid team. I mean, even though I'm like doubting them, it's not like I think they're a bad team. I mean, they got good players in every position. And one of the players that I'm actually thinking it might make the difference in the game um, is a midfielder who's also on my fantasy team. I'm playing a little bit of fantasy football. Is Sandro Tonali, who I I watch a little bit of Serie A just to kind of like because they play games later on, especially in the U.S. Like Premier League, a lot of early morning games, but you know, Serie A they play games like at noon, 2 o'clock at our time. So I do get to watch a lot of games from them as well. And Sandro Tonali is somebody that kind of popped in my head a little bit from watching Milan play a lot. And I think he's a really, really good player. And I was really like, I guess not excited that he was coming to Premier League because he's going to Newcastle, but I was like, okay, like that's a good pickup. And I thought he played well in the first game against Villa. And I think he's going to make the difference just because I said Liverpool's going to have that weak midfield. And I think Tonali is better than anybody Liverpool has right now. So I think Newcastle is going to win 2-1 because of a guy like Sandro Tonali, who, is going to be like, he's going to be one of the strengths of that team is in the midfield.
Okay, I think it could be a close game. Two good teams. Newcastle do have home advantage, difficult place, St James's Park, but I think Liverpool they're good on the counter attack. They got some real good attackers there. I know what you're saying about the midfield, but in terms of
Good point. Yeah.
they got Jota, Diaz, Salah. I can see them getting goals. I'd say I'm going to go for a draw. But if I think anyone was to win between the two, I think Liverpool would just edge it. But I'm going to go
Eke it
for
out.
I think I'm going to go for exciting 2-2 draw.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I feel like that's going to be another. Again, man, Premier League did great in scheduling really, really big matchups early on. And that's going to be another good one. Yeah. Like I said, I'm not discounting. I don't think Liverpool's bad at all. I think I'm scared of them. But yeah, I think the midfield, Tonali, man, I'm telling you, man, look out for that guy. He's a good player. But as you said, man, I mean, they got Mo Salah, bro. And like that guy, he's getting up there in age, soccer terms. But my God, that guy is a monster still. Fast as hell.
Yeah, he is great player. All right, bro. So looking forward to catching up with you next week. Hopefully discussing a great win for us. Let's hope it's a real good, dominant, easy, like I'm going to say, 4-0, hopefully. Anything like that, 3, 4, 5, whatever. Let's get a lot of goals. Keep that clean sheet as well. Nice win. And then, yeah, let's hopefully see some of our competitors losing. I can't see that many upsets this week. Like, I was looking at the fixtures, like I say, I think Chelsea should be winning. Man United on paper should be winning. I've gone for the upset, but on paper they should be winning that.
Right.
Man City, very, very, very likely. Nothing certain, but they should be dealing with Sheffield United. The way they're playing at the moment, Man City, they're looking really good. So yeah, let's see. As we know, that's what we love about the Premier League. Anything can happen. Thanks for your time today, bro.
My pleasure, man. And yeah, hopefully next time we talk, um, yeah, we're top of the table with 9 points. So we'll see what happens. And yeah, come on, you Gunners.
Oh, yeah. Come on, Arsenal. So that's all from us. Thanks for watching, everyone. Please remember to subscribe, like, and share.